All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. I hope you liked the music. Okay. Wonderful. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a thoughtful break and a break in which you were able to think through what is something I have, heard more than once today. Did anybody think about it? Do you want to write something in the chat? What is it that was, something that seems like a theme or a hint at something you're not doing or you should be doing? What does that sound like? Anything? Because these are the small thoughts that become big ideas and big results. You saw Dr. Kozak, she started so small and then it became big. You heard each one of the speakers said things that started small and then they came up with uses I could never have even thought about. Okay, our next speaker. Let me introduce Dr. Brian Trainer. He's a physician, obviously. He's a physicist. He is. He's a pilot, a NASA pilot, not just any pilot. Obviously, a lifelong learner. Whatever he does, he goes to the top. Do you know he began with a dual degree in music and physics education from College of New Jersey, and then graduate studies at Columbia. That was from where his NASA connection came. He worked at Bell Labs as a visiting scientist. He's trained as a military pilot, flies both planes, helicopters, retired as a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Air Force with over 3,300 flight hours and 229 combat hours. And then he earned his medical degree from Rowan, completed residency and fellowship training in ENT, facial plastics, and head and neck oncology at UMDNJ, NYU, and Memorial Sloan Kettering. He practices in Arizona. He is a studio musician, and he's a consultant for film projects, film and TV projects that involve aviation and medical authenticity. So if you see a medical show where everything looks real, you can thank him. And if it doesn't look real, you can blame them for not consulting with him. He is really a true polymath in our cohort. I always look forward to learning from him. So, Dr. Trainer, go for it. Are you there?
Can you hear me now?
I can.
Good, good, good. I had a PowerPoint. Does that show up on your end? Do you see that now?
Not yet. Maybe you should share screen.
Let me see here. Got you. Let me hit it again, see if it shows that.
Yeah. Share screen.
Okay, and also share my audio. We have that. I put a little PowerPoint together. I don't.
Yeah.
Good. I don't know if we're seeing that. Let's see.
I have it. Do you want me to share it?
Yeah, you want to post that up there and we'll just click through it?
Yeah. Let's
This is a new laptop I happen to get and it's not doing what I want it to do.
I just said you're the biggest tech nerd among us.
Yeah, I got a new laptop and it's locking me off on this Chrome tab. But let's see where we go. So
there you go. That's your presentation.
Okay, good. Now it has me locked on a screen here. Cancel that. Okay, and let me see if I get this to run. Can you click? Let's see. Put that out. It won't let me manipulate it. How terrible. Would you be able to click each one for me? Can you do that from
Yeah,
your end?
yeah. I'll just
Go ahead.
walk down. It's
Go
like a
ahead.
PDF, and I'll just
Thank you so much.
walking
Click
down.
to the first slide if you can, because my end's misbehaving. Okay, so when we started to do this, I have a daughter who's an electrical engineer and one who's a mathematician. And this is a wonderful, wonderful ability to share information. And there's all different levels. So for me, my first concern was, what is it that I should be attempting to do? And I have one example at the end I think will help. You've had wonderful examples, and I want to thank you for inspiring all of us. But there's a machine level collection of data that's enormous. And so this deep learning process that they try to accomplish has several layers. So this machine level is already there in ChatGPT before we started. And then the neural network is an interaction with us. And when people talked about planning with their family and other events, one of the things with ChatGPT is the more people that input, the more ChatGPT tries to accommodate everyone's needs. Could you go to the next slide, sir? Okay, so for us as physicians and surgeons, which are two different disciplines, there seemed to be a change of using our technical skills, what we've been disciplined and trained to do, to bring us outside the leadership role unless we're in private practice. And as more and more employee grows, this chat GPT and use of an artificial friend to help us, I think of chat GPT as a personal assistant. But in more complex thing, it can be a team leader where each of the member, if you share the same logon, will have your information stored. And one of the things that it's really helped me with, you talked about the Eisenhower matrix, but medical school is different than a graduate program in physics or in biology or literature, anything in that it starts with a culture of obediently doing exactly a tremendous volume of work that you're requested to do. And then this is period of execution where you show competence that you've read everything, that you've internalized it, and you know what needs to be done. For surgeons, that has a lot of dexterity. For other professions, not so much, maybe more volume. And it also requires individuals that want to be accepted as part of a group. In a PhD program, you can have a very eccentric person. And if their data is very significant, nobody can in particular enjoy talking to them, but they're like, we really love what they do. So what I found, it was a surprise to me, it was reestablished by going in. Dr. Singh, thanks for putting us here. It reestablished me into a way of learning that I had done 40 years ago. So certain people will bring certain skills. Some people it's a memory skill, some people it's a creative skill, some it's a mathematical skill. So we can go to the next slide if you'd like. And I'm so sorry that I'm failing on my end. Okay, so I went back and I said, what are the different people who are putting this together? How does it affect my life? The first thing I wanted was for it to help me with something that I am terrible at: billing and coding and understanding how we get paid. I find these contract university jobs are very easy, and I've never ascended into any major university into a person who's a department chair or a significant person. I've always been the person who they would call them, an operating fool, or in the military, you ask me to fly 2 in the morning, I'll go fly. So the chat GPT started teaching me the whole side of how the industry of medicine works, which I never expected when I started. But by developing a system, I looked at this OpenAI, which is ChatGPT, and then I looked at who are the people that make this really come together. And so, of course, Microsoft we've talked about, but Oracle, a gigantic corporation, bought Cerner. So most docs who are in larger institutions are either Epic or Cerner EMR using docs. And both those fit very well into the Chat GPT. The prompts have to be formatted. Two others are if a lot of banks use the information to help them with mathematical and actuarial planning. And also this other, I found out in doing my research on this, a lot of media sources, they actually do the same programs we're doing with AI to verify their sources. So if they say something, they don't get sued. So it's like, my goodness, there's an amazing amount of data here. And so that was the first thing, was as a person who wants to be logical and scientific, is ChatGPT giving me fantasy or is it giving me data supported help? And it really is data supported. I don't just read it and go, oh, that's good, thank you. It's not the Bible. It has to be a science book. And it's every time so far proved to me over the past 2 months. Next slide, if you could, sir. I'm so sorry to slow you up. So then what did I really want to get out of this? And so for me, I wanted all the technical parts. Dr. Singh and I talked about a term called note bloat, where people put in just for billing and it has no application for them. And a lot of our notes have changed. And so I said, can this system help me to make a note that has both the billing parts that the people who employ me like and the parts that other physicians can read and benefit from? And it did. So I had to start working with it to allow the different parts to come together. So I viewed it as a personal assistant. Some people have said with other family tasks, but then I'd have to perfect it. My daughter's electrical engineer says that only works. It's like in an engineering firm, all the engineers use the same program. So there's not one engineer controlling it and every other engineer a technician. So I've learned, oh, everybody has to be using the same program for it to benefit a group. And the other thing is that there's also specific to the different cell phones, whether you're on an Android system, an Apple system, or laptop, whatever you have. And the system is capable of doing all, but you have to spend time to be interactive with it. And you talked about all the prompts and the efficient commands, buzzword, the AI fluency test. Now, ThriveRx Care is an excellent, excellent program. And it makes telemedicine very efficient for both they'll use the term provider, PA, nurse practitioner, physician. And it also, in that program, as you use it, kind of implements, as you talked with the Eisenhower matrix. If we look back on Ike's period from graduating the point in 1912 all the way to 43, when he gets this tremendous position responsibility, the lifestyle of the people in his profession has people that don't come home at night. But yet, even when that happens, not always are those things critical at that time. They're just part of the world he lived in. A very, very efficient manager. So this part I found when I put things in for the statement, it started, since I didn't ask it to do really crucial things at first, it started to figure out how to help me when I would do my next note. So we can go to the next one, sir. Sorry. Thank you so much. So this one's an eccentric and probably doesn't help a lot of people. If you're watching this, you're very academic. For myself, there's a time when we have vector and scalar quantities. And what that means is, very simply, I could say I ran 300 meters. That doesn't say a lot. I could say I ran 300 meters at 6 kilometers per hour in a heading of 70 degrees northeast. But ChatGPT can take all the parts that I put in on notes or questions, at least with me, with billing, coding, and surgery, and finalizing notes, and actually come out with the topics in the order that are most important. In other words, within all the quantities in there that affect it, it could help me start to see what I needed to do. And this is a very short PowerPoint, and then I'll talk a little bit more. So we can go to the next one, sir. I'm so sorry that my end failed. So then I go back to this matrix again, and I want to go to this neural net. So at this point, with using the program, I've asked it questions, I've interacted with it. It started to teach me other commands. Now, Dr. Singh has helped us to a higher level in all the test competencies. It knows things about my personality. So we're getting up to this part which they're called neural network. And the first concept came out with something called the Enigma with a guy named Turing, who was a British mathematician. And so we can go to the next slide, and maybe a picture helps to make it easier. So this is a biologist we know. When we look at a neuron, well, to AI, and started Cambridge, Mass, which was MIT, and some people from around the planet started in the 70s thinking about how do the computers really help us. So you think, the dendrites bringing stuff to the body of the cell, you have the body of the cell, the outbound part, and then you have where it interacts. So we can go to the next slide. And that's identical. Some of these prongs will be inbound. The little part that stores electrical and a capacitor plus information is like the soma of the neural cell. And then some of the prongs will go out and interact with other prongs. And where they interact is the action terminal. So you can look at histologically in a picture of these little, and there's amazing new different types of circuits that go together. So you realize that this little friend who's helping you, that you're typing to, has amazing assets to it to learn. We can go to the next one, sir. Thank you. So we go back to this one, and now we're going to start to share this deep learning experience with the Chat GPT. And I know there's many of them. So what exactly is this deep learning that I got from it personally? We can go to the next one, sir. So the part that we had talked about, Dr. Singh helped us, was there's a question we'll ask it as we learn. It's a memory. And you realize what you told it 3 days ago or 2 weeks ago, it has stored. And within itself, it has a history that's not just you. When you ask it a question, say it's about a tracheal stenosis, it will take 8 or 10 major current papers. It will take several published books with tons of footnotes, and it will take a lot of rebuttal and anecdotal concepts which are stored in its database. Then when you interact with it based on your questions, it becomes very personal. So that if there's 10 people saying, I have a child with tracheal stenosis, what should I do? Based on the data, it actually starts to mathematically, with that quantity, think what is best for Denise or Robert or Daniel or Rohit Kumar or Vladimir, whoever in the globe is using it, what helps them. Then the final part that's designed by the engineers, which is important to me, my daughter helped, is there's a very high safety factor. When you pay for it each month and you don't do this, the free part, but you actually put a little bit in, they have even further safety algorithms to protect everything about your patient, yourself, and what you're sharing. So then we can go on to the next part. And so how it's shared is may or not be, but this is a quick side. It basically talks to us in our language, and this is a global program now. So if it's German, English, French, whatever, but below it has a language that globally the engineers, Python is one of the many platforms or codes engineers use. That came from C++, which was Murray Hill Bell Labs. That's been around since the late 70s. And the JavaScript. So it has a series of mixing with its global ability to gather data, share data with our English language, which is what I use. So we can go to the next part. I hope this isn't boring for people. So here's my first true application where it helped me. We had biller coders, so I would go in and say, I had a thyroid case. Generally NT saw it, there has 6 neck nodes and there's 2 lung nodules. I'm going to do it with the CVT surgeon. And I would just write my note, I'd dictate my note, and they would do theirs. Earlier today, somebody talked about it actually submitting op reports. If you use it long enough, if you read it, you have to remember it's giving you the op report it thinks you want because it's your personal assistant. You can edit that. So the one thing that I learned from this was this what CPT, this current procedural terminology, is an AMA thing. And that's input more by insurance payers than it is physicians. But the moment we talk about disease and infection and all the causes, we go into the ICD-10, which is an international classification, which has gone on. ChatGPT will tell you, do you want ICD-11, which is global, or do you want ICD-10, which is the World Health Organization interpreted by American insurance companies that pay you? So if I did the case, I go, oh, it's C73, that's thyroid. I put it in ChatGPT and it looks at my note and it says, no, it isn't. You brought out a bunch of lymph nodes. That's a C77. And it will even say with difficulty, was it anaplastic? Did you have the heart team? What did you put together? So this is acting as my personal assistant. And so where it really helped me is many people, particularly surgeons, will say, I can't talk now, I have to operate. I got a case. On paid call. It's RV, whatever they're looking at, they're saying, I want to kind of get away from what is the value of my workday. ChatGPT started telling me, hey, here's the things you didn't think about in your workday. We can go to the next slide, sir. Thanks. And so then the final part it does, I just used it on my laptop, but so before they did DRG, a group in Wisconsin started what became EPIC. And the two largest programs are EPIC or Cerner. So what happened for me is I realized Cerner was purchased by Oracle and but so basically what I came to realize is my Chat GPT will actually be able to be implemented into the Epic software and not be shared and not violate the rules of the people. So it's really a helpful program. I think that's the last slide. So my PowerPoint, and I don't know how helpful my lecture is, but the biggest thing that this came through to help me is that it looks like my photo disappeared. I think that, but the biggest thing ChatGPT came forward for me is that it enabled me to do the parts of my job that I dislike with great competence. And it also made those parts much more tolerable because I started to understand why the people who run the hospital administration, why the insurance companies that have to collect, balance, invest, and pay have certain rules. So without even realizing it, it was an educational source for me. Being a mathematical type person, I had to go back and look at all the ways that my daughter, a mathematician, an electrical engineer, helped me to understand the volume of information that Chat GPT makes available to me. That was crucial. It was truly valid. And one of the things I did in this Vox Media portion that funds them, make sure that when somebody goes on the news at night, they say certain things, that the way it's presented, it will actually change some of the scripts it wants them to read so they don't say something that can be sued. So the data collected, the data I had access to was amazing. So I've been the slowest person because of other things going on, but I'm slowly making a bigger and bigger part of what I do. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you very much. That was actually explaining things which is underlying what is what in a way that, oh, now we can see you.
Yeah. But my silly thing was on an older version of Windows, so it locked anything, but I apologize, sir. People are very tolerant.
So, by the way, tell me something which is, you had said, oh, Dr. Slater says, good lecture. So Dr. Slater, what did you like about the lecture? You can tell in chat or you can unmute yourself. What did you like? So in the meantime, you had mentioned something about that data is so big, it protects.
Yes.
So what does that mean?
So with this Python and the way the information is shared and the giant servers and all the industry behind it, they have made very certain that all the people that log on to the program are slowly protected by what they put on because people will put things they shouldn't. And because they have such a talented group of young engineers, they make sure when you put something on that when you're in that novice phase, when you're outside, but was mechanical learning before you get this kind of neural concept, which is very interesting how they're trying to make it act like a human brain. There's the self-awareness thing they talk about, like I think what was it, the Predator movies or whatever, become self-aware. The machine itself is taught to protect everything it's doing and then help you. So the volume it has, what it gives to you is all verified. It doesn't,
Mm,
it never, even if it wants to help you, pushes you into something that is not verified data.
mm. That now, do you see? I mean, I'm asking other people, do you see how that makes sense now? Because, by the way, it is all through these years of our blood, tears, and sweat suffering. We have put that data in.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Even all that note bloat we are talking about, it's
Yes.
gonna use it. So specialized uses like over here, we have nuclear science lab. And nuclear science labs, the OpenAI has created, they have their own totally protected stuff that they use within. So ChatGPT for them is a very different animal.
Yes.
Uh,
And one other thing that I may do for this, and I reached out to two friends for over 20 years. This Doctors Wong and Singh are head and neck surgeons at Memorial Sloan.
mm-hmm,
And the trillions of possibilities for gene mutation for cancer,
mm-hmm,
they have some software, but they're looking to see, can they take global inputs to see if
mm-hmm,
they can find gene markers, which would help in a lot of immunotherapies for cancer.
mm-hmm. That I didn't even think about. Because even when we did the genetic, what was that in the 90s, the Human Genome Project,
Yes, yes,
that was only possible with technology. Initially, they were thinking it was going to take 20 years or 25 years. And the
yes.
technology, just like every 18 months, we know the memory and hard drive, everything doubles. It's doubling, not like then becoming 4 and 6. It's like 4 and 8, and then 16, and then 32.
Yeah.
So the things were done within like a couple of years that might have taken 20 years. So when they are saying that all those gene mutations can be tracked, that's real. So
Yes,
like Mayo has now a department of pathology, which is digital pathology, which is AI pathology. So
yes.
this is not something like science fiction, like Dr. Kin is saying. Latest Mission Impossible movie, Terminator movies about machine learning gone amok.
Yeah. No, and that's Dr. Singh. One of the things that I saw, and I have to give my daughter Angela the most credit. So John Dowland, I talked about, he was a global leader in some of this stuff. And as I was one of his dumb students, but my daughter is one of the smarter ones. But the volume that is stored within this technology, most people don't even know to ask it.
Mm-hmm,
You
mm-hmm,
start to realize that we're all putting in information, it verifies, looks at it, that the longer you spend with it, if you have a
mm-hmm,
specific goal,
mm-hmm,
it can help you find that goal. The one thing I found out, it gives me so many options that I had to pick what you asked us about personality and our skills and our traits. I've had the privilege of working with you before.
mm-hmm,
I've learned that I hate bureaucracy.
mm-hmm.
So the machine
Well,
immediately spent time. I didn't even know what CPT or ICD and how did ICD 11. I didn't even know where it came from. And the machine 2 or 3 times said, "This is the code. This is the WHO code. But the code I think you're asking me for is the one in the US to get paid."
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yes, we made this switch, by the way, and we haven't gone to 11 yet. So, yeah, that's so. In fact, Dr. Ken is saying, well done, nice explanation of ChatGPT for CPT and billing. That is really the thing, which is we at this point off the shelf have things which we should be using. It's like writing notes is like yesterday.
Yeah.
So
I
that's
never expected it to act as my assistant. Of all the different things like tonsils, fesses, and stuff. Well, I don't know really fesses much, but for me, with the trauma in head and neck, it asked how many people and other things. It actually said, "Well, I think you're missing stuff there. You should get paid for."
that you see that nabla that Kristen was talking about, Dr. Fredrickson, it
Yeah,
does that. It
yeah,
does because I know that it does that. So it's not something that's like fairy tales. It's been doing it for years at this point. So if anything, if you like to earn more money, go use it. Libby Smith
yes.
is doing a great job, Brian. You're so smart and you see things at a micro level. You need to understand how you need to understand how things work. Help us understand more also. Kudos. And Don Morris said, "Well done, you're so smart. I think ChatGPT may need to explain you as opposed to you explain."
I'll make one apology. Super users are 1,000 times smarter than me. I'm kind of a machine level guy. Like the one program think about, I learned, but there's some people go on, open a computer up, and in 10
Mhm.
minutes they're going at light speed. I have to look at it for 2 months.
No, no, I think you're smarter than us, all of us. I am like the regular user type person. And when you said you hate bureaucracy and you used it for that, I'm asking people that even if we were using AI or not using AI, when we do a program like this, we have to just tackle our problems. These things should solve problems. It's that simple. But the problem with problems is that we don't like to admit, especially the deep problems, that they are
Yes.
problems. So Stephen is saying Brian has gone supersonic. Don't let him fool you. So
Very so
one of my
complimentary. I
teachers,
don't deserve that. Yes.
in human ways, one of my teachers said, "We have three levels of problems. Now watch, this is very high level learning. It's for everyone, not just you, Brian. You already know this. So we have three levels of problems. One, which are sober problems. We like to politely say, we dress up, put on a tie and say, we had, ROI of this and the CPT was this and all that, right? Then we did this and then we did that. And then our problem is well-being and our problem is, engagement and our problem is EMR. But then there are problems which are two drink problems. So you sit with someone and you have a couple of drinks in, and then those problems come up. So if you, even without drinking, I'm not saying you should start, anybody should start drinking, but
It's late at night for the East Coast.
so deep inside you, at your gut level, if you feel like you want to solve those problems, that that's where you should go instead of just looking at superficial type thing. Somebody else is telling you, oh, you can do this and then I will try that. No, try anything. Who cares? You see, so try to solve your problem. Solve your problem. Start with that as opposed to, oh, what idea do I have for this and I need to meditate or something. Nobody needs to do that. What I'm saying is solve. But then there's a third level problem, which is a six drink problem. And when you have six drink problem, that's very hard to explain sometimes because you're not in the right mindset. So probably if you can mature from sober problem to a two drink problem, because a six drink is gonna hit at your identity, that would really greatly help everyone, which is something that has emotion connected to it. And it's like, I hate bureaucracy. Why is this CPT code giving me trouble? Then you work with it, and then you will really enjoy what you're doing and using ChatGPT for. Good, very good, very good. Fantastically done. This was like a lesson in basic sciences we all needed. Okay, very good. So thank you. Thank you, Dr. Trainer. Any questions for him or comments for him? Otherwise, I will call the next speaker, who is a repeat speaker. So here's what was the second part of this speaker's talk. By the way, one thing I didn't mention was this. You just, because this is, so I'm going to bring back Chad Clark, by the way. Chad, who did the first educational segment. And didn't he do such a good job? Because he taught all of us the basics, of which you heard advanced version from Dr. Trainer. But Chad also wanted to demonstrate to you. So just like I demonstrated to you, Chad wants to demonstrate to you how to use AI. And he's used it for something. And I will ask him some questions later on. And you can also ask him in in the chat, and we will ask him those questions. However, there's something very interesting. You guys won't guess this now. I had met him last year in Myrtle Beach, and we were doing last year's cohort, last year's quest was on speaking. And Chad said, I'm deathly afraid of public speaking.
Mhm. Exact
And
word.
yes, I said, okay, come on, and we'll do something. And he really stole the show. And now he has become a fantastic presenter. So what would you say about that anxiety now?
It was like learn by doing.
There you go. Wonderful, wonderful. No, you are such a, focused presenter you have become, which is so good. You are presenting from your strengths. Okay, so go for it. Go for it. What were you going to show us?
Okay, so going to say the way that I approach AI is probably going to be a little bit different than how you guys would approach it in your professional lives. But if there are any students in your life, I'm going to say this is how I've approached AI as a medical student. Let me get my screen shared, and hopefully my computer will cooperate. Let's see, where is the share button? Alrighty. Is that showing up for everybody?
It should come on.
Let's see.
It should. It says you have
There
entered, you have started screen sharing.
Let's see.
Mm.
There we go. I think my computer's just lagging a little bit. All right, so the AI model that I like to use
There
is
you go.
called
We can see it now.
Excellent. So what I've used it for is a couple of different things. Um, Currently, I am doing a research scholar year. So one of my projects is on heart rate variability. So you're able to create different spaces, and this is what Dr. Singh was talking about, how you can save information to your AI, whether that's Chat GTP, Gemini, whatever. And instead of starting from scratch every time, it's able to save all of these different questions and queries that it's done. So you can do things like do a PubMed search for, let's see, let's get it pulled up. Instead of having to go through and do the line by line research on PubMed yourself, it can generate the search query for you, where you can either go on PubMed and do it, or it can generate the results uh, on the Perplexity uh, model itself. And the thing that I really like about it, uh, you can come up here and it will lay out the different sources that it uses. So it'll tell you, okay, so we used this particular article from Frontiers in Sports Medicine, this one from PSU, this one from the Journal of Applied Physiology. And then as you're reading through its response, it will tell you, all right, this is where we got this information from right here. So it helps cut down on the hallucinating that AI is prone to do. Some of the other things that I've used it for is for trying to come up with ideas for research projects for cell culture projects. So there's one that I'm trying to develop right now by looking at AC16 cells, which are cardiomyocyte cells and medium chain triglyceride oils. So you can go through and see if there's been any studies done with particular cell lines. Other things that are a little bit more applicable for medical students versus research interests, this is one of the things that I would actually use ChatGTP more than for Perplexity. But using, let's see, let's bring this up. Using ChatGTP as a stand in to practice patient interviewing skills. One of the things about the curriculum at DCOM is that they'll tell you what your next SPE encounters are going to be, standardized patient encounters. And one of them that they said that uh, we have specific expectations for was for our problem patient encounter, where the standardized patient was, we didn't know what they were going to be trying to ask us for, but they were going to be very insistent on getting some form of controlled medication. And being uh, conflict averse, that's one of the things that they've typically seen students struggle with. So one of the things that I did was went on ChatGTP and type in the prompt. I am a OMS2 preparing for an SPE with a patient that is requesting controlled medications. I would like to role play this scenario. So, and it will again clarify, ask for clarifications. Okay, is this primary care, emergency room, another setting? Uh, Primary care, random history, random medication, negotiate appropriate care. So, and then it starts in with the scenario, generates the dialogue, and gives the students a chance to go back and forth. And depending on the input that we give in, the AI is able to analyze what we've done and kind of give us a scenario back where the patient would respond to what we're giving. So, giving us a chance to, while staying firm on what our expectations are that have been laid out by our instructors, get used to having the back and forth conversation with patients and helping to explain what our rationale is behind everything. Um, say other things that I've used it for have been for, at the end of our second year when the big practical exam was going to be, 3 random patient encounters. Um, it would be much like this, setting the scene and then asking AI to, generate an idea of what the diagnosis and clinical presentation is, give us the objective information, and then I would present my care plan and compare it to the idea that uh, the AI had initially had. So things of that nature. Saying if say if you guys are interested in hearing more, I can certainly go further. Dr. Singh, do you have anything that you'd like to
Yeah,
add in at this
ask
point?
for like the blind spots, let's say.
Oh
Or
yeah, uh,
what am I missing? Something like that.
mhm. I'm gonna say that has been something that has come up with a lot of my research ideas.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna say the previous research that I've done. I'm gonna say for those of you that weren't here for last year's presentation, another medical student that presented with Dr. Singh last year. His name is Christopher Root. Gonna say he brought me in on a 3D printed scalpel blade durability project, and that's kind of how I got looped in with the research scholar year. Had a great time with that. Um, Made a strong impression with the research staff. But as far as any cell culture projects or kind of more basic science bench research,
Mm-hmm.
that's not my background. So
Mm-hmm.
having AI to bounce ideas off of and making sure that I'm considering all angles,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I've primarily used it for uh, as far as checking my blind spots. So, gonna say, does that
Yeah.
answer your question, Dr. Singh?
No, very good, very good. So Brian Trainer is asking how much opioid data have you reviewed with AI? This topic has so many variables.
Sorry, let me get that. There we go. Sorry about that. So opioid data. Um, gonna say I haven't reviewed any opioid data in particular. Um, with regards to the role play uh, practice
Oh.
that I was talking about,
Mm-hmm.
that's been the extent of like anything with opioid
Mm-hmm.
data with the AI.
Mm-hmm.
However, the one of the uh, we have our in-house research day for the DO program uh, coming up next month. One of our presenters is actually going to be talking about addiction medicine, so I was planning on kind of digging in with that a little bit to be able to help prepare and hopefully have some good questions for one of the keynote speakers.
Dr. Smith is asking, will AI give you feedback on how you interacted with difficult patient? Need to tell
Yes.
AI to be critical in its assessment?
Yep. Uh, it's like Dr. Singh had alluded to with the schmoozing. Um, Gonna say you can tell it to be blunt and be critical. The I think that there were certainly certain strategies that the AI was looking for me to employ during the uh, during the role play interviews, and I was able to kind of get there eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's been a while since I've reviewed that particular session. However, it was very effective at putting my mind at ease,
Mm-hmm.
especially with my background as a nurse. Like, talking to patients, I was actually surprised at how much of the first couple of uh, we call it the essentials of patient care class. It's the how to be a doctor lab based class.
Mm-hmm.
Was just about patient interviewing. So, um, but having the ability to always have a partner available in the form of AI,
Mm-hmm.
say I've tried more and more to figure out how I can utilize this resource to help me prepare moving forward. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really one for going out and spending a bunch of money on subscriptions.
Mm-hmm.
Um, However, there is one that I probably will uh, look for moving forward. Currently, I have a student trial membership for Perplexity Pro, and I'm typically not big on having a lot of apps on my phone. Um, However, one of the nice things about the Perplexity app, especially on the phone with the paid subscription, it has a voice mode where you can, instead of texting everything out, you can speak to it, it'll speak back. So I was on a road trip last week and I'm gonna say I was going to a surgical conference up in Cleveland and was trying to get information about the hotel that I was staying at, things
Mm-hmm.
to do after the conference, uh, things like that, and it was able to have a good conversation with me back and forth. So that was kind of a nice little thing. I've also used it for practicing. Gotta say, actually, for the presentation today.
Very
was
nice.
practicing in my car before the uh, the start of this seminar today.
Yes. In fact, I was going to ask you at this point, as a student, what have you seen or heard? What are most doctors, or what do most physicians misunderstand about AI right now?
There was actually a presentation at the seminar that I went to last week in Cleveland where one of the interventional cardiologists presented on AI in healthcare. And immediately one of the hosts came in and was like, "Oh, I don't want ChatGTP, arguing with me over what to do with my patients." It
Hmm.
seems like everybody who knows just a little bit about AI immediately jumps on that it's going to be ChatGTP and that it's going to be so cumbersome to use.
Yes, in
There's
fact,
been
yeah.
uh, several of my professors for the clinical years here at DCOM that are really going in deep on AI and how to leverage AI to help medical education. For
Hmm.
some of uh, the clinical rotations that have had lower COMAT pass rates,
Hmm.
uh, they've actually started making podcast style uh, kind of lectures that cover certain topics that students traditionally score lower on. So
Hmm.
little 10-15 minute bite-sized audio files in a conversational back and forth uh, format. And I had to speak with a couple of my classmates. I'm not sure if it was for the third year or the fourth year that they were going to start uh, as some of the clinical assignments having to present uh present case reports and
Hmm.
then present it to AI and submit the AI critique
Hmm.
and then do another one based off of the critiques that the AI had noticed.
Yeah.
I may be misunderstanding, but that's some of the ways that I've seen it and heard about it.
No, I think by the way, I was speaking at the Innovator MD, and one of the groups, physician group, and of course the venture capitalists, they have a pediatric cardiology program, AI based, massive
Mm,
data. And at this point, they're pricing it so it can even be used in low income countries. So this was such a fantastic presentation. So you heard the future. So we
mhm.
are talking future
Yeah.
over here. So it's not something that, in fact, some of the things which we are not even imagining are going to become
Mhm.
possible. So thank you. So anybody has any questions for Chad, the humble medical student? He's taught us so much about the AI today, first the lecture and now a demonstration. So thank you, Chad.
Oh, gonna say I see in the chat that when AI will be able to perform
Oh,
disimpaction. Gonna say that's what medical students and RNs are for. Gonna
yes.
say that's why I'm having to go back to school.
Well, it's gonna make something easier or better as far as training goes. Let's put it that way.
Mhm.
Or to
Yep.
detect it way before it happens.
Hmm.
So it's gonna help prevent it. It's gonna find a sign which we don't know yet. It's
Yep.
like the doctor who's scared of AI using AI. It's comparable. Let's compare it to the time when we invented sphygmomanometer, the BP
Hmm.
cuff machine. And the doctors before that would touch the pulse. Why don't need that sphygmomanometer to check the patient's blood pressure? I can just check the pulse and tell what's wrong with the patient. That's how
Yep.
these people sound like. Or if you are thinking like that, I'm talking to people, everyone, that's how you're going to sound like at that point. Like, for example, when fax machines came, oh no, when phones came, And doctors were talking about confidentiality. Who will be listening on the other side? How do we know what's going there? Now nobody cares. So it's kind of like, looking at our history is where we go. So we will always have people who are worried for the right reasons. I'm not blaming them. Okay, very good. Let's look at our, so let's move on. Let's talk to our next let's talk to our next speaker. The next
Right.
is very interesting presentation, and I mean that. Everybody's interesting. But like I said early on, we are not doing pedagogy, child training, teaching, whatever you want to call it. We are doing andragogy. And in andragogy, it's common to have an experience which is like, I don't even know, or it's outside of my previous experience. And that's what happened to our next speaker. Uh, so I'll meet Dr. Stephen Kin. He's a general otolaryngologist who has quietly served suburban Detroit for over 25 years. And he's the one who still does his own paper charts. He's a graduate of Michigan State and Albion College. Dr. Kin has spent decades training residents across multiple hospitals, helping establish key programs, including the DMC ENT residency. He has lectured nationally, would you believe it? And he served on certification boards and holds a clinical faculty role at MSU COM. And he wasn't quite sure what to present today because he's been interacting, trying. And that's exactly, we're glad he's here. His honest take on stepping into AI as a seasoned doc is one actually many of us can relate to, and I'm sure many people who are listening can relate exactly to like what to start with, where to do, what to do. So, Dr. Ken, it's yours. Oh, you're muted.
Can you
Oh,
hear me
there you
now?
go. I
Okay.
can hear you now.
Okay. Anyways, I apologize. My computer's giving me a little bit of feedback, so I've been monkeying around with the volume here. But um, as a point of clarification, I do have paper charts, but they're as backup. I do have electronic records, but I have the paper because I'm paranoid about loss of internet access or just loss of power. So the paper is there so that I can look and see what I did put it in the EMR, and it's always a backup so that if something happens, I can go back old school and go, oh, okay, I gave him this, I gave him that. So um, I'm admittedly pretty naive on use of chat GPT, and that was part of why I'd journeyed down this road. I mean, quite honestly, at least thinking as the dinosaur that I am, um, I was looking at ChatGPT in terms of churning large amounts of volume for analysis of one sort or another, not really the kind of analysis that we would be interested in necessarily, but big volume of numbers and other data that would be applicable to business and other things. And as you've seen by some of the presentations, like Dr. Trainer's and even Dr. Morris's, as far as just decluttering, that GPT has a number of applications. And I think Dr. Singh and I had touched upon this during our one-on-ones that, I think the most critical thing to think of is that, Chat GPT is just another tool, and how you apply it is really up to you. And really to optimize it, you just have to dive in and have at it. Um, uh, one of my goals eventually, and not in this short time frame for this, but one of my things was, as some of the other presenters had mentioned, was trying to incorporate some sort of ambient AI or some other software to help integrate just me speaking with my EMR to cut down on my my typing. Um, and that's still a work in progress, but still a work in progress. I was recently tasked with giving a lecture, and I have to admit I was frightened how quickly that came together, because it was kind of a hodgepodge of things I had talked about before. So I kind of had in my mind what I wanted to speak about in the audience I had. And so I put the information into Chat GPT, and it was about 20 or 30 seconds, and the whole thing popped up. And it was pretty much what I was going to say, with a little nuance here and there, which I just made sure that I mentioned. But I was kind of amazed at the speed of which ChatGPT has this information at hand. And so if you project from either Dr. Morris's talk or Dr. Trainer's talk, it's like, well, yeah, if you have applications either personally to declutter things, or using it for CPT coding and billing, which we all would need so that we get paid for what we're supposed to. And as a small sidelight, I was told by a dentist friend of mine that the pediatric dentists get $600 and something for a frenulectomy. Now, here in Michigan, there's been a big pushback, and you're lucky if you get a fifth or sixth or seventh of that. And insurance companies are even just pushing back on that little paltry sum that they're paying here in Michigan. So I was just astounded when I was speaking with my dental friend about this. He coughed that little pearl up to me. I'm like, what? Did you say this? And he said, yeah. I'm like, wow, guess I should have my kids be pediatric dentists. So, but anyways, ChatGPT is definitely here to stay. It's for us to use in a number of ways. And I think the easiest thing is to dive in. One of the things that I found most helpful that Dr. Singh had mentioned before was that, trying to get very specific in your prompts. And if you think about it, it's like, well, okay, if we're using Chat GPT, it's really just an extension of Siri or Amazon, and okay, just spit it out and see what it comes up with. If you can't, if it's not what you like, okay, refine it, change it, modify it. It does the research really quickly and at a pace, and sometimes offers you a perspective that perhaps you hadn't thought about. So
what initially drew you to the program in the first place?
who doesn't want to thrive? I mean, thriving comes in a number of ways. We all have our personal things, and we all have our professional things. I love movies, and so I think there was a great line from a movie that said that distraction is very underrated, and we all get distracted, and it doesn't matter. It's personal, it's professional, it's someone in your office saying, oh, by the way, so and so also had this happen to them, or some other bit about why you're going to be slower in the room because maybe they don't maybe English is their second language, and maybe whoever is interpreting for them is not there that particular day, or a nurse pulling you aside in the OR saying that, oh, by the way, the instrument that you have, it's not here, it's out for repair, or you can't use such and such disposable because we ran out. Well, when did you run out? Last week. Oh, okay, great. Did you want to tell me before I boarded the case or before I started the case? So we get distracted by so many things so often. Most people don't think of just pulling us aside and saying, by the way. And it's like, okay, there's a big difference between, the timing of you notifying me this and, can we avoid the potential problem here?
So, what surprised you the most about using AI or ChatGPT so far?
So far, like I said, I think it's the speed. I didn't expect. I mean, there were some prompts that took a little bit longer, but a little bit longer is like maybe more like a minute instead of 20 or 30 seconds. I was like, huh. Okay.
Yes. Yes. In fact, I was thinking that at this point, now that you have seen all these presenters, we talked pretty informally. What do you think you could have said now looking back?
Well, with all my speaking experience, I guess I had in my background, I've biology and English degree from once upon a time. Um, as most of us know, we all learn by, digging in and preparing the lecture.
Hmm.
We do our research, we
Hmm.
form our outline, and we throw in what we think is prudent and appropriate to the lecture.
Hmm.
Well, I had a vague idea, but I didn't really. I mean, quite honestly, it's like I should have used ChatGPT, but I kind of, quite honestly, I didn't even think to do that
Yeah.
because I was a little bit adrift as far as what exactly I wanted to try and convey. So
Hmm.
I was just a little bit at a loss, just because normally uh, in me giving a presentation, it's like, okay, it's best if you're the expert at whatever you're speaking about. And it's like, oh, okay, I'm not the expert.
Oh,
You
I
know,
see. So, what would you say if you had to name this barrier, let's say, if that's the word? What would you call this barrier?
I think it's just the uncertainty of just something new that you just
Hmm.
have to kind of get over. And
Yes.
it's another, sure, it's another tool. Okay, how
Mhm.
am I going to use it? Am I going to hurt myself using this thing? Don't hand the sharp knife to the kid, right? Or don't hand the gun to the 5-year-old. Okay, yeah, it's a good idea. So it was funny because when I told my daughter when I was going to do this program, she kind of looked at me. She was like, "Really?" She's like, "I'm scared of Chat GPT," and she's my tech support. It's like she's the one who usually talks me through all this stuff. I'm like, "Really? Okay." And so we had a little conversation about why she was concerned about doing some of the things. I said, "Well, I'm not going to use it for that." So
In fact, this is not unusual. So, what would you think your story might mean for other doctors watching it, especially who haven't tried it yet?
uh, I would think it's similar. I think I'm probably the oldest presenter tonight, so I think I've got Dr. Trainer beat. But uh, I don't know if that's just my old-fashioned way of thinking, or
I see.
because computers in our undergrad days were talking about COBOL, Fortran, and the other language programming languages. It wasn't
Mhm.
anything like this at all.
Yes, that is absolutely true. So at this point, what would you say is your level of curiosity at this point about this?
It's still growing. I'm still trying to dive in, flounder a little bit, and find my way.
Very nice. No, this is bravery in action. So, if anybody has questions about AI and ThriveRx to Dr. Kin, please put it in the chat so we can ask it and make it relevant and helpful for everyone involved here. And so, Dr. Kin, just because you've been an educator and even present, like you said, present, what role do you see this playing in education if you had to take a wild guess? Medical education.
In medical education, I think I would be a little concerned about, when residents do present things, is this just some AI generated thing that they've memorized and spouting off the top of their head? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
always kind of joke with the residents about when I ask questions, sometimes I see them sneaking, trying to uh, go online and get the answer on their phone. And I
Mm-hmm.
kind of phrase the question so that it's not necessarily something that they could easily access. I'll try and
Mm-hmm.
change the question or trying to get the information to see, do they really understand, what we're doing here and why we're doing it?
Mm-hmm.
Then, oh, okay, gee, what are the, you know, 5 most common causes of X, Y, or Z?
This is actually a very good question, which means And Dr. Smith was asking questions about this as well. And is this going to change medical education? I think it is. It
Well, I
will.
think it is also. I mean, I think I would be a lot more concerned if I was an undergrad English or history professor because,
Mhm.
kids can just
Oh,
spit this stuff out online for their term paper and whatnot. And it's like,
man.
that would take them another 30 seconds and, oh, okay, they're done with their, their paper or their presentation that they have to do. That,
Yes.
with the residents in medical training, it's like, okay, there's a lot more nuance and we can kind of pigeonhole them a little bit more to really see, did they really understand what they've just spit out?
Yeah, yes, correct. I didn't think about them. Their plight right now.
Right.
But you're right. I think, but medical education has to change. Will change with it. And this will be like a partner. That's how I look at it. Like Chad was talking about role playing. In fact, I had done something with another group of doctors. Okay, so who else has a question for Dr. Kin before we let him go? Any questions, any comments for him, any suggestions for him? So
Any
this
and all
was
help is welcome.
No, this was very good. No, thank you. I'm glad you could come and share that. It's kind of like that, things take off and some people take off, but some people take their time, and that's no big deal. It's fairly simple. In fact, I was gonna show this and let me show that. So thank you, Dr. Kin. So this was very helpful, very, very useful. And this kind of talk helps people, doctors who are hesitant to even try once, like you said, 20 through 30 seconds. That's what people need to hear. They really need to hear. This is why we do this cohort quest, as opposed to people coming and lecturing, and people are just, zoning out, listening to all this stuff. That's no fun. So thank you. This is the real spirit of andragogy in action that you show. So I was gonna show this I had done a few days ago. Now watch. So here's what I was showcasing ChatGPT just like Chad was showing you guys. I said, okay, so doctor said, oh, how about doing something clinical? So, but it should be funny. But now this thing knows me and knows my strengths and stuff like that. So I said, let's watch, look at my prompts and look what it does. I said, let's showcase a funny something to do on ChatGPT to a group of doctors. It shouldn't take more than 3-4 minutes. And it said, here's a fun 3-4 minute activity you can use to showcase ChatGPT's personality and creativity. Perfect for loosening up a group of doctors and certainly showing the power of prompt precision. Look at my prompt. It's not precise. It's a bad prompt that I gave it. But it's giving me, look at this prompt. So it actually gives you prompts. Look at that. It said prompt to type into ChatGPT. I can copy and paste this. Rewrite the Hippocratic Oath in the style of Shakespeare, like Dr. Morris. He wrote in Dr. Seuss style, or a modern rap battle or passive aggressive email. It might make doctors laugh. And it shows ChatGPT's language model superpowers, voice, tone, context. We can change all of them, and shows prompt stacking and fun use cases. So it's going to demonstrate. But so Shakespearean monologue. So it much ado about antibiotics, or I diagnose with the most, treat the host. So that kind of a thing, or a passive aggressive email to a patient and ask for more styles like a Pixar movie summary, as if written by a grumpy ER resident in the tone of your mom texting you. And why this is more than a joke, because you are shifting personas, you can change the tone. And I didn't like it. I said no. A real problem. I don't want to talk about these weird things, and it's useless basically. Maybe it entertains people, but you can entertain yourself for hours using this thing. That's what I meant when I said it's addicting. You can get into it and you might feel, I mean, it's fun, but that's where the lens and the soap and what we have done in this cohort is very helpful. So I said, no real problem. So then it said, let's go over a chaotic patient list into a calm action plan. I have 20 patients, disorganized notes, and feel behind before the day starts. This is like a hospitalist. The prompt is hospitalist rounding on 20 patients. You know, many of you see patients in hospitals and write notes as well. I'll give you a list of problems and key facts. This is, by the way, a real thing. You can try it when you're writing notes on your patients. Create a visual summary sorted by urgency with reminders for what needs to be done today versus what can wait. Highlight 1 to 2 patients who might crash and any key follow-ups not to miss. Ask clarifying questions if needed. Now it knows, so it's using my stuff. Do you see how the 4 parts are coming here? The role, the context, the intention, and ask clarifying questions. So once I gave it the proper prompt and it gave all those 4 things. So this is where sample input, patient A, CHF, gaining weight, still on IV Lasix. Patient D, end-stage renal disease, no dialysis access yet. So potassium is 6.1 this morning, whatever. So he gave quick, and what ChatGPT might return is this. Needs nephro consult or transfer ASAP. Look at that. High priority. It just read this much. Just read 10 words per patient, or 10-ish words per patient. And then it almost triaged them by priority, high priority, medium priority. Isn't this good that medical students or residents can learn this? Now think about this. Won't it be a good thing? Or if they're giving bad prompts, for them to learn how to, so they can then round properly, as opposed to just doing rounds whenever or however they're doing. Somebody needs to be seen many times a day, that kind of a thing. And today's action reminders, it comes with this. Why it works is, it shows the doctors that there's a mental mess. Now you have a structured plan done in less than 2 minutes. You'll still verify and guide, but you're being fast. And after the demo, what other real problem could we throw at ChatGPT right now? So ChatGPT said, demo this. I'm demoing as we are going, by the way, as we are doing this. And I said, do you want to have one for surgeons or psychiatrists or administrators? No, I said, how do I prepare for an angry patient family meeting? That's what Chad was talking about. So Chad, I had done this a few days ago. And how do I prepare for an angry patient family meeting? I said, great. Here's a 3-4 minute ChatGPT demo for physicians who are using real high stakes scenario. So people who were talking about teaching medical students, look how it's going to get into role play. This is a very useful role play. It's almost 80-90% good. So the context is, this is something most doctors dread. 1:30 p.m. meeting with furious family member. You're short on time, emotionally drained, and want to show up steady, clear, and professional. Instead of spiraling it or winging it, use ChatGPT. This is the prompt. You are a communication coach for physicians. I have a meeting in 10 minutes with a patient's angry family member. Patient is stable, had a delay in care, and family is blaming the team. Help me prepare a calm, professional opening lines, few talking points, phrases, be concise, ask clarifying questions if needed. Look how good these prompts are. You see, any of us can write it and then be coached in the morning and calm our mind, right? Okay, so ChatGPT may say, so opening line is, thanks for meeting with me. I know the situation is frustrating. I want to make sure we walk through what happened earlier and clearly, and that you feel heard. You acknowledge their concern, you clarify here's what happened. We are still, committed. What's most important to you right now? But it says that you can do a role play, act like, so that's what Libby, you were asking about. Act like a family member and push back emotionally. So I can practice keeping my tone steady and calm. So this will be, you will use it. So I gave it, I copied and pasted the next prompt, which was act like a member who's not happy with my answers. There you go. You're playing the role of an angry family member in a hospital setting. So the chat will be an angry family member. Patient is stable, there was delay and all that stuff. So when of course, it's condensed. The family member is saying, you doctors left my father sitting there. We waited hours for someone to even explain what was going on. What kind of care is this? And you can learn, the medical student, resident, even doctor, when you're upset, you can calm yourself by saying something like, I hear how upsetting all this is. I agree, you deserve a clearer, faster response. Let me walk you through what happened. And they say, oh, that's not good enough. You're just covering for each other. What if something had happened? Then you say, you're right. And I'm not here to defend any problems or mistakes. I'm here to make sure you feel heard, your father is safe. Take this very seriously. And then you can keep on going, switch roles, give me 3 tips. You can keep on going into this thing, which means that you can go deeper and deeper and deeper and learn more and more and more. What are the blind spots in this? And in the end, it had said, okay, you know what to do if, where did that thing go? Summarize this entire exchange as a short documentation for the chart. Won't you want to know to write this in polite and professional manner? So this I'm doing live as, oh, what's happening? Oh, sometimes it takes, Friday evenings can get busy. So we'll wait for it to answer. So how can you document all this, what you are doing, and teaching a student not only doing a role play, but also how to document a difficult encounter like this. That's what we're talking about. Okay. So at this point, chat is running very, very slow. Oh, there you go. I met with patient's family regarding concerns about delay in care. Family expressed anger and frustration. They felt patient was unattended, acknowledged, validated their emotions, explained circumstances, emphasized commitment. Family verbalized concerns again, but accepted ongoing updates. Isn't that nice to write something professional like that? It can also create a soap style version if you want. How was that demonstration? Okay, Chad said, thank you. Then that is excellent. So what do you guys think about? I did a quick demonstration of it. It's a teaching thing. You can use it clinically, by the way, if you are having a situation like this. But I'm just showcasing you solve real problems. So we could have done that. Shakespeare thing or whatever funny rap battle thing, but that would be useless to you and me. Oh, thank you, Mary. She says it's inspiring. This is almost like we can do more and more practice like this, think and then go back and say that worked and that didn't work. What do I do next time? That it's like doing role plays and learning, becoming a better doctor every day. That's what we're at. Okay, any questions about this before I move? Very difficult topic, much data required to help. But that's where practice but spending some time practicing this out of, need for better professional care in a way. It's
Yeah.
very, yeah,
Dr. Singh, I was thinking this the whole time is that if they're in the hospital, right, you have a code team and a nursing staff.
yeah.
And so there's part of a chance to educate them as to who's there to help them. But the other part is I would probably go to ChatGPT and do a confession. I
Mm-hmm.
went out for steak to eat and I didn't come right away, or it would,
No,
the chat could will help me to say like, keep a record of how many times I was the one at fault versus the families at
yes,
fault.
there you go. So, in fact, the doctor who did research with uh, Da Vinci robot. Among other things, one big thing is we don't have a model for human. Every other field has a model that they work upon. We don't. This is the closest we have right now for at least a human interaction. Dr. Briggs is saying, I would use ChatGPT to create fictitious patient encounters to practice writing soap notes. Do it. Absolutely. Go for it and teach us. Next time, come along, teach us. And highly recommended, fellow students, do it. Do it. Absolutely. And iPad 4 is saying, can you say a few words about AI and legal ramifications? Yeah, that's where doing legal paperwork before ahead of time. And knowing what you're putting into it, at the very least, knowing what HIPAA compliance you need to do. But for example, what Dr. Solano was showing, that there are things which are HIPAA compliant, use them. And if you are in doubt, ask your legal people and they will answer you. It's actually like Dr. Trainer is saying, as we use more and more, it becomes easier and easier. So less and less to worry about. Okay, well, let's move on. Our last speaker, Dr. Winter. Dr. Timothy Winter, he is the current president of AOCOOHNS. And before this cohort even began, he had been using AI and ChatGPT in particular, seeing how it brings clarity in many, many levels, at personal level and professional level. And what he's discovered since then has been, at multi-layered. He's trained in ophthalmology at Oklahoma State and completed fellowship at University of Miami and University of Iowa. He's practiced across top institutions, including University of New Mexico, Loma Linda. Now he's at Valley Children's Hospital in Fresno, California. His current research in complex strabismus and optic disc drusen is supported by Linda and Johnny Stevens' family. So today he's going to tell us about what he's been doing with AI, what's stuck, what's not sticking, what he's doing differently as both a physician and as a thinker. So, Dr. Winter.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, for the previous presentations. Also, thank you for the introduction, Dr. Singh. I want to apologize. I know I'm the last speaker for the evening. As you can tell, it's still bright here in sunny California, and I know you guys are getting ready for bed, so I'll try and be brief. But I also want to apologize to Dr. Singh. He and I met a few times talking about this, and I'm sometimes a bit of a contrarian. I didn't really do things the way that we had planned, and one of those was, you got to use your strengths. Well, I've been using ChatGPT to kind of compensate for my weaknesses, actually. And so, and then also a little bit like Dr. Solano, I didn't really use the SOAP notes as daily as I should have, but I'll try to give you an example of how I feel like it's helped me in my life. It's just a little bit about me. Growing up, I was the son of a painter and a state worker, like a Department of Motor Vehicles, and I was the first to graduate from college. So when I applied to medical school, right, I didn't really have the typical application, like most of my friends being in the sciences. That kind of came a little hard to me. I actually graduated in Spanish, so I have a Bachelor of Arts. And when I got into medical school, it was really fun. I had a good time. I really learned a lot. It was just very difficult. And one of the things that was a kind of a theme was a lot of people didn't know about technology. And so a lot of the doctors, a lot of professors were walking up to the the microphone and it wouldn't work, or they couldn't turn on the PowerPoint. And we had voted as a class to have an audio visual representative, but that individual frequently did not show up to class. And so after like 3 or 4 weeks of this happening, I was kind of the de facto AV rep. And one time I got in trouble for it because the professor called for my name when the actual audiovisual rep was in class, and we had to go talk to the administrators and things like that. But being an early adopter of all things technology, I was surprised to learn about ChatGPT from my son. He's in college, his first year in Brigham Young University in Utah. And I was talking to him about that, and he's like, "Yeah, I ask it all the time to give me questions on my chemistry, like to help me prepare for my chemistry class and to do well in my chemistry class." He's also a pre-med, and unlike his dad, he's going to do probably the sciences. But right now, it's been pretty clear after listening to all of our speakers and some of those that were asking questions, most of us are going through some pretty rough stuff. I think the term we used was flipped upside down multiple times. Dr. Solano shared his experience. Dr. Friedrichsen, also her husband, having this new diagnosis of brain cancer. It's crazy. In my experience, I just started a new job, as Dr. Singh introduced. And so I commute on the weekends, and I work in a city that's 4.5 hours away, Monday through Friday. So I left an academic institution where I did a lot of teaching and publishing and kind of joined a children's hospital, and it's a pretty small practice. So my first experience with ChatGPT is I requested that it help me on this 90-day quest to overcome a lot of my concerns about starting this new job. The first thing I was really concerned about was the subtleties of life. Starting in a new position with new individuals, new technicians, new colleagues, new administrators, new location, all these things new. Sometimes I struggle with the subtleties in communication. And so things that are said, I can understand, maybe the things that are unsaid or the facial expressions. And so I really, wanted help with that. Also, I knew there was going to be a bit of a strain on my family with this commute, and I wanted to make sure that I kept family relations as at a top level of my concerns. And then I was concerned a little bit about my health and the energy. I have a diagnosis of hypothyroidism and a small microadenoma on my pituitary, and so I'm getting treatment for these sorts of things. But with the drive and having very little time to spend with family, and because of the work and the commute situation, I wanted to find time to exercise and eat properly. And then just in general, those three things, the um, subtleties in communication, the strain on the family, and my well-being, just I wanted balance in all of that. So I asked ChatGPT for help with all four of those things. And it did come up with a little SOAP note that I could check in. I just haven't been using it very well. But it really did help kind of lay out a plan for me so that I could start this 90-day journey um, kind of fresh and ready to go. And what was interesting about last year's mid-year meeting was Dr. Singh and I met several times. And after hearing of all my challenges and work and life and things, as my coach, he said, "Tim, you are on a quest as a forest dweller." And then he gave me a little bit of background on that. He said, we start out in life maybe a little bit of a young whippersnapper trying to make a name for ourselves. And then we become like a provider of family or other people. He's like, the next stage after that is the forest dweller stage. And I think that's where you're at. And he said, after you're a forest dweller, then you'll become a wise old sage. And so I realized I am in my midlife, and it is time to kind of learn to be a forest dweller. And I couldn't imagine a better symbol than what I'm going through now, because I literally leave the forest of my home for 4 days, 5 days, 4.5 days, and work, 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 and then come right on back into that little forest. And so I really kind of have like this double life essentially. And so last year, it really prepared me for what's going on today. And so, like Don and many others that have praised, Dr. Singh's educational workshops and Ralph and Mackenzie putting this together, I just wanted to, shout that out as well. So my next question I had for ChatGPT was, I I really wanted to figure out, well, and first of all, like we talked about over and over again, it really is a large language model. And as a bachelor of arts, a Spanish major, I really do kind of cling to that. I feel like I understand languages pretty well, even those that I don't speak fluently. I really enjoy studying them. And so in my opinion, ChatGPT is such a helpful tool for communication. Essentially, these large language models help us to communicate with others. So my next example was a bit of a personal issue with a colleague that I had left in Loma Linda. And on one of these Sunday nights driving back to Fresno, I got a text from this colleague that I haven't heard from in 9 months. And this colleague said, "Hey, it's nice to hear from you. I just want to let you know we're about ready to publish this case that you and I did a couple, like a year ago, and I wanted to get your opinion, or I wanted to get your permission. Can you send me your email and we'll figure it all out?" So immediately I went to ChatGPT and said, "Boy, oh boy, I need help with this." First of all, why in the hell did this guy just reach out of the blue after 9 months of no communication to talk to me about this? And so it really did kind of walk me through some of the reasons why this person who essentially a colleague, not really a friend, would reach out to me and out of the blue. And I just want to share you a little snippet of what it said. It said that text hits a few red flags at once. Here's why it likely landed the way it did. And then it went over some things about, oh, well, maybe he's testing the waters to see if, you would be willing to use your foundation to kind of help support and lend audacity and credibility to this article he wants to write. Or maybe he's just trying to apologize without apologizing. And so I really didn't understand it. And so I came up with lots of questions. Hey, well, what about this? What can I say about that? Should I even reply at all? And it kept saying, well, here's this, there's and that. And so I got a pretty good example of what I wanted to say. And then I called my wife. So I called my wife. She's a very kind of the opposite of me, a very loving person. And I'm kind of one that struggles with forgiveness. That's one of my weaknesses in in the VIA character strengths. And so I wanted to say, no, I'm not going to respond to this guy. 9 months later, hell no. But she's like, come on, you need to be reasonable. And so we worked up a way for me to respond. And I don't know how it landed because the doctor never texted me back, but I just politely declined my interest in the the publication and then said thank you, but very good luck. And so I think it's helping me become a better communicator by recognizing maybe some of the challenges that I have in my life, and then also helping me to see those blind spots. And so that's the third example that I wanted to share is that my new colleague had came to me and she's been there for 10 years by herself with 3 or 4 technicians, and she's kind of laid out all these different struggles that she's had with respect to communicating with the technicians, specifically concerned about the schedule. And she would say, frequently this schedule gets so overwhelming where they'll have established patients, and in ophthalmology we dilate all new patients, which takes an extra 30 minutes or so, and so it adds this stress into her life. And so she's like, well, how are we going to fix all this? So I went to ChatGPT again, like I do most challenges, especially when it comes to communication, and I just shared with it like her concerns and my view of the situation, where these techs have been incredibly capable. She was a little bit concerned that they're more doers and not thinkers, but on several occasions I was able to determine that, oh boy, these technicians were really able to think through very quickly a way to solve the problem that I had with the patient. And so I didn't want to go to my colleague and say, well, this is, I see it differently. I wanted ChatGPT to say, well, she sees it this way. I see it this way. Help me to kind of come up with some reasons why it might be so different, and help us kind of solve this problem. And what I realized is after I asked it about the blind spots, did it come up with some incredibly helpful questions. And so, speaking of that, the blind spot thing, I said, help me. What are some of the blind spots with the approach that you're suggesting? And it said, sometimes the technicians may not feel it's their place to adjust these schedules. Sometimes the technicians may not know how to trim without overstepping. They may worry that patients or doctors or their boss are going to be upset that they're changing the schedules, and that the workplace may be asking them to add, not trim. And so it really kind of laid out also some questions that we could ask the technicians that would help empower them to explain unto us why it's so difficult for them to uh, trim the schedule for her specifically. And so it's been my experience that ChatGPT is an incredibly helpful tool for communication. It uses these large language models to help us use our strengths to communicate, but also maybe see these blind spots where our weaknesses are not allowing us to understand the situation as a whole. And after hearing a lot of these experiences, I just want to say what I think I've learned is that, I come across very difficult conversations with patients all day long. As a pediatric neuro-ophthalmologist, I see children with brain tumors, children with leukemia, children with Down syndrome and vision loss problems. Like sometimes they have 3 or 4, or today I saw someone with like 6 medical problems, all before the age of 3. And so it really is difficult conversations we're having with these parents that may not understand what's going on, may be in denial, may be angry, and sometimes they take it out on me. And so I've decided that after every uncomfortable conversation I have, I'm going to ask ChatGPT, why did this person behave that way? Help me understand why they yelled like that or why they were upset with me for saying this thing. And then also to suggest what should I have said differently? Because I think that ultimately it's really about communication that, like you were talking about earlier. Our patients, yes, we help them with surgery. Yes, we help them with medication, but sometimes it's just a lending an ear and understanding their problem. And I sometimes I struggle with that, especially the subtleties of these communications, where there may be something underneath things that I'm just not understanding, and I don't understand the reaction that I get. And so I think ChatGPT has really helped me identify some of these problems, but also help me figure out solutions for it.
Very good. So this is sort of like making us more humane doctors in a way, where we are becoming better at what we do. One of my teachers used to say, a doctor, if nothing, is a synthesizer of information. And information and communication, everything, it's gonna fall onto us. So, and we had more comments while you were saying, Dr. Fru says, I'm going to pursue researching the benefits to practice. Dr. Maisie has a very amazing thing, which is about being leery about adding more technology, because EMR has left such a bad taste in everybody's mouth. And here we are talking about something that sounds like one more thing to do. So if you haven't tried it, it's gonna sound like that. And someone says Microsoft makes money every time you use ChatGPT. Okay, go buy Microsoft stock then. Dr. Peng, yes, we have been recording the whole encounter, and I don't intend to create any transcript. We're just gonna use it as a video because it's this live human interaction that we have been talking about. Dr. Winter, before you go, I have one question for you, which is,
Sure.
in this, if a doctor is hesitant, what would you tell them?
I would say start with something that you're really passionate about, because it is going to surprise you. I think you asked earlier, what have you heard over and over again? The surprise factor is huge. Like I was
Mhm.
so surprised that my son was able to prepare for like college level chemistry classes with ChatGPT, and he was doing well. Like
Yeah,
he almost felt like it was cheating.
yeah. Oh, our question of the day, Dr. Fredrickson, please unmute yourself. Say it. We want to hear from you. She just did something as we were talking. Listen to what she has to say. Hi, Kristen.
Hi. So while we were here tonight, I created an HPV positive head and neck cancer education handout, which I've kind of been looking for years, and also vestibular migraine handout. So thank you, everybody.
And a PowerPoint
And yes, a PowerPoint.
with
And I
references.
shared it with my nurses, who are super excited to start. And I love my nurses. So,
And how much time did it take?
well, 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Well done. You are the
Yeah.
star student
And my
of today.
12-year-old son is like in the corner. He knows all of this already. And my 17-year-old is just eye rolling. So
Very nice. Awesome. Fantastic.
thank you all.
You did it. So we are now gonna, wrap up basically before we let you go. Just a few housekeeping reminders and a small invitation from me. This is 9 hours of CME credit broken up like this: 2 hours with that pre-program prep, 6 hours for this main program, and one final hour for this post program or after program activity. We're going to email you guys as well, all three of these documents, but I'm just going to put it in the chat just in case you want to look at them. Ask Ralph McClish, our executive director, and he and the team will guide you step by step. This video replay will be made available to everyone. So if you missed something, you want to go back, reflect on a moment, you'll have full access. We encourage you to share highlights with your colleagues. Like what we just saw, this is like one of the best things that can come out of this, what we are trying to do. And if today sparked something for you, here's your next step. Write to your association leadership, Dr. Winter, our president, and the entire team. Let them know that you want to be part of the next year's cohort. We'll have something else cooking at that time, or maybe this one again. And what other topics you think might be useful next time? It could be about, think of like I said, 3 levels of problems, sober, tutoring. So decision making, well-being, leadership, practice growth, documentation, anything else you're facing. This is how this thing grows from inside out. So this was our 4th year going on a quest together. And first time we added AI to the journey. So it's new, it's bold. And I truly believe it's in alignment with osteopathic spirit of whole person thinking, adding to a doctor becoming a better whole person doctor. So thank you for being here and trying something new. Thank you for being the kind of doctor who says yes to growth, not just to yourself, but to the profession. So I hope to see you in the next cycle. And I'll just hang out, but you're free to go. So Dr. Grosso said, thank you for all the excellent accounts of your experiences. It's you, everybody here made everything possible. So thank you. Thank you very much.